Hi, everyone. I'm children's author Janet Hoffman, and today I'm going to take you inside two of my books, 7 Miles to Freedom, the Robert Smalls story, and the story of Civil War hero Robert Smalls. Both books have the same true forgotten history story, and both books were illustrated by the late Dwayne Smith. The first one is a nonfiction picture book for ages 6 and up, and the chapter book is for grades 3 to 7. In addition to the story, it has 5 additional sidebars to tell you more about the time. And the story is Robert Smalls. He stole a Confederate gunboat right under the noses of the enemy, and he knew all the signals for going by the forts in Charleston Harbor. And they put their families on board before they left, and they were able to go by all the forts without getting stopped, and they won their freedom that way. So first, I'm going to take you inside the picture book. And this is Robert Small's childhood. And he worked in the master's house, and he was one of the favorites there. Then when he was about 12 years old, he was sent to Charleston. And eventually he got work on the dock. And he made and helped rig sails, and he would take the boats out to test them. So he became an excellent boat handler. And when the Civil War started, Robert was working on a cotton boat called the Planter. And that boat was turned into a Confederate gunboat. And Robert Smalls was so good handling boats that the Confederates made him the wheelman, which is the same as the pilot, but you couldn't call a black person a pilot at that time. And so Robert Smalls was always looking for a way to win his freedom. And so one night they knew that the white officers on the boat were going to be ashore overnight. And so Robert Smalls and the crew, they had made a plan to escape, and they got their families on board. And they went out. They just started out like they were going out on an early morning run. And Robert knew the signals for all the forts because he was the wheelman and he wore the master's hat. He had the same build as the captain, or not the master's, but the captain's hat, so that the guards would think that it was the captain on the ship. And they managed to get by all the forts. And here they are turning the boat over to the Union Navy and cheering their freedom. And then there's an afterword to the book telling about Robert Smalls and his family after the war. Robert Smalls ended up buying the house where he had worked, had been enslaved as a child, and he also served in Congress for 5 terms. And then, of course, there's sources for my sources and for the books I used, and also for the quotes. And then the chapter book, it has the same story, but it has sidebars, 5 sidebars to give students a better look at the time. So there's a brief history of slavery. There is a look at the boats that would have been in Charleston Harbor when Robert was working there. What caused the Civil War. Then there's a more in-depth look at the Planter, the steamboat that Robert Smalls piloted. And then there's another escape story, this time of of a young girl in a wedding chest. And there's also a timeline and a glossary. And then there are sources not only for the original story, but for the sidebars. And there's also some more recommended reading about this time. And you can find both books online and at bookstores, and any bookstore would be happy to order it for you. And you can find out more information about both books at my website, janethoffmanauthor.com. You can find, one of the great things you can find there is Lee and Lowell created teacher guides for both these books, and there are links to those there, and there are links to other educational resources, and you can also find out more about my research and how I fleshed out the story. Thanks so much for listening, and happy reading.